Hi everybody. A question came up when I was watching a streamer the other day, and it's whether it's beneficial to make sure that you don't use a wireless connection when you're playing multiplayer games. And the answer to that straight away is absolutely yes. Do not use a wireless connection if it can at all be avoided when you're playing online multiplayer games. The reason for this is not to do with the amount of data that's passing backwards and forwards between your console and the host computer that's kind of the referee for the game. It's all to do with the speed that these instructions, this information passes backwards and forwards. So, for the quick answer, if you've just kind of turned the video on and think, well, what do I do then? So, first thing, the best connection you can have to make sure you get the best multiplayer experience is to have a wired cable, a LAN cable, going straight from your router or your router, whatever you want to call it, straight to the back of your console, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, doesn't really matter. If you can do that, if you can route a cable from your router all the way up to wherever your PlayStation is, your Xbox, you'll get a nice, strong connection. If you can't do that, then the next best thing is to use something like a power line adapter. Now, what power line adapters do is you normally have a pair of them. You plug it in one near your router, one near your console, and they pair up, so they talk to each other. And they go hi, and the other goes hi. They talk to each other along the wires of your power cables that run through your house. And then you plug your router into one, your PlayStation, your Xbox into the other, and they transmit the internet connection over there. Now that's better than wireless, but not as good as a direct LAN connection. Finally, if you can't do any of that and you do have to use wireless, just make sure you follow some simple rules. You know, keep your console away from the wall. Keep your router away from the wall. Minimise the things that are in between your router and your console. Don't have a cordless telephone sitting next to your router. All these sorts of things to make sure that that signal's got a chance of getting through. So, you know, that's the easy answer. Use a cable, you'll get a better experience. And by better experience, what we mean is it will be like your bullets are hitting more often, you'll get killed less, the game will feel more solid. So why is that then? Why is that? As I explained earlier, it's nothing to do with the amount of data going backwards and forwards. You know, we've all got very used to having Wi-Fi on our phones and our laptops, and it's all really easy, and I guess we probably take it for granted these days, and we don't really have to think about the amazing steps that are involved in taking the information that your console or your laptop or your phone wants to find out, transmitting it wirelessly through the air to a router, and then transmitting it, you know, to the data centers along the phone lines and the broadband connections, and then back again. It's a really complicated thing, but we take it for granted. But the problem with wireless Wi-Fi is that it is introducing a small delay into the speed at which your console can speak to the host computer, or sometimes it's a host console that is running the game. If you imagine you've got two consoles, you know, and you're playing a game of Call of Duty, let's say it's free for all, and it's you and your mate, and you actually live on the same street in America or in the UK. You know, you live a couple of doors up from one another, but you're on Wi-Fi and your mate's got a wired connection, and so you turn on Call of Duty and you say, right, we want to play a game now, and it could even be a private game. And so what happens then is your consoles then normally, depending on the COD it is and the game it is, will then connect to a central host. They'll have like a dedicated server, often it's called, where they'll then talk to that. And that host, that dedicated host, is often the referee. Now, in reality, often this will be another console. In Call of Duty, 'cause it uses peer-to-peer networking to do it, but let's imagine it's just a dedicated server that's sitting in London, or maybe it's sitting in New York. So both of your consoles, they're talking to, let's use the UK as an example, they're both talking to a computer in London, who's the referee. That's the one that's checking that everything's going right. And whenever you fire your gun, it says, right, I fired a gun, and it sends that information to the central host, and the host goes, yep, okay, unfortunately that missed, and it sends that information back to your console, and it sends it back to your mate's console. Your mate throws a grenade, it sends that information to the central host. Host goes, oh, that was pretty close, it's damaged the other fella. So it tells you on your screen, you get that damage marker. And you carry on that way. However, imagine a situation whereby you both run round a corner and you both look at each other at exactly the same time. And this happens quite a lot, doesn't it, in Call of Duty? You both, two players will see each other, you both fire at the same time towards each other. So that data leaves your consoles and then it has to make its way to the central host. Unfortunately though, the data from your PlayStation, your Xbox, has to go via the Wi-Fi. So it goes to the Wi-Fi controller in your PlayStation and that translates it into a signal, transmits it over the air to your router. Your router receives the signal, turns it back into an internet signal and sends it via the internet. Your mate's PS4 or Xbox simply transmits that internet signal straight down the wire, straight to the router, and then up to the host computer that's hosting the game. And therefore, your mate's data gets to the host first. So although it appeared like you both fired at the same time, and in fact you may well have fired at the same time, because the data of his bullets getting to the host get there first, because it didn't have to go through a Wi-Fi system, he wins that battle. He kills you and you lose. And that is essentially why a wired connection is better than a Wi-Fi. It's all to do with, it's got lots of different names, but generally it's called lag, and it's called, you measure it in your ping. So if you have a low ping, that means you have a good connection to the host, and ping is normally measured in milliseconds. And you'll see it when your game's trying to find a lobby, and it will say searching for a lobby of less than 30 milliseconds or 75 milliseconds, or something like that. Because the lower the ping, the better the experience you'll have. When you fire your gun, it will seem like your bullets are hitting them more often. It won't seem like you're being killed around corners. So hopefully I've kind of explained it okay. Remember, if you've got any questions or comments, put them in the box down below. And just remember, a wired connection is always the best way to go ahead. Go with powerline adapters separately. And then if worst comes to the worst, just rearrange your console and your router so there's as little obstructions between the two as possible. Now I'm going to give you one final search term as well. Let's say you have got a wired connection and you're still looking for a better method of joining them up. Just go on Google and I want you to search for NetDuma gaming router. That's NETDUMA gaming router. If you're a big Call of Duty player, that can make a difference too. But anyway, that's enough from me. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more of the same. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.